Good evening, everyone. Me, Tiny Creaky in the corner. Welcome to the very first live debate on Conspiracy Catz, who's signed in as Baldy Catz. One in the same. New debate channel. Agree to disagree. So we're not going to hang about. It's not going to be like any of our regular content. I'm going to pass you straight over to Baldy Catz, who's going to run you through the format of the debates.
Right. First of all, thanks, Creaky. So how are we going to operate this? We're going to operate this very consistently, week to week to week. We want to get a reputation for people to know that this is the place to come for the fairest of debates. So we're going to start with round one, which is going to be an 8-minute introduction. Now, in that introduction, the other party will be muted, so there's no cross-shouting. After the 8-minute introduction, there'll be an 8-minute opportunity for a rebuttal. Again, the other party will be muted. Round three will be a back and forth between the two contestants for about 10 minutes. And then round four will be questions from the chat. And at the end of each round, I'll be putting a community poll on this YouTube site, and you'll get to vote for who you think the best debater is, right, for that round. Not necessarily the topic you agree with, but the best debater for that round. And we'll see if we can crown sort of like an overall winner for the night. But we'll not hang around too much, other than to say we've gone for two fairly middle-of-the-road topics tonight, haven't we, Creaky?
Yeah, nothing too overly taxing. It's just, like I said, we want them to be conversations. Definitely no dumpster fires on this channel. We promise you that. We are going to do everything we possibly can to keep things as cordial as possible.
And before we do go to start the debate, while it's fresh in my mind, the debates happen tonight because, first of all, Heidi, who I'll introduce first in a second, Heidi got in touch with me and said this is a topic that she wanted to debate. The second debate that we've got on gun control is a topic that, again, somebody reached out to me and said, I want to debate about gun control. So the opportunity is there for you. This is a subscriber-based channel. Subscriber-driven channel. So if you've got something that you want to debate, don't wait for us to come and chase you. Send us an email, agreetodisagree@gmail.com. I'll post it in the chat later on, or post on a community poll, and I will get back to you. And you can come on, you can debate whatever the topic. As you're about to see, we will talk about anything. Now, should we, without further ado, introduce Heidi, and then once she's introduced herself, start her timing? What do you think, Creaky?
Yeah, sounds like a plan.
Right, Heidi, I will let you introduce yourself, and then when you're ready, we'll start your 8 minutes for your opening.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Heidi. I'm 32 years old. I'm from Finland. I'm a trans woman and a nurse by training.
Right, now, Heidi, well, I'll let you introduce what your position is, what your stance is on the subject. This is obviously the debate on gender, how many biological genders there are. Creaky, when you say the word go, I will hit the stop clock.
Are you ready, Heidi?
All right, just bring up my slides. And my position is that there are more than two biological sexes, as well as genders as social constructs. Now, slide one, please.
Yeah, on screen now.
So for the sake of limited time, I have 8 studies and or scientific papers I have pulled this material from. Now, if you would please, slide 3.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay, so as a reference, I brought up the prevalence of twin births in the United States in 2009, 16.7 per 1,000 births. And babies with chromosomes that are not the binary XX or XY are 1 in 1,666. Klinefelter syndrome, which means chromosomes XXY are 1 in 1,000. And vaginal agenesis, which is the lack of development of female genitalia, is 1 in 6,000. And as for ovotestes, gonads with both ovarian and testicular tissue, 1 in 83,000. And body that differs from a typical binary male or female is 1 in 100, which is way more common than the prevalence of twin births in US in 2009. Now, slide 2, please.
Okay.
So, different studies in US and Europe indicate the prevalence of adult population and identifying as transgender are 0.6% in the US and between 0.8 and 1.1%. And this does not include other gender minorities or intersex people. And intersex can be considered as an umbrella term, meaning, for example, when karyotypes, i.e. chromosomal makeup, comes back as 4 or 5X, this means typically a Turner syndrome, and these babies are usually assigned female at birth. And 46XX assigned female at birth, and 47XXY is Klinefelter syndrome, and these babies are usually assigned male at birth. Turner syndrome symptoms include short height, heart defects, and failure of ovary development. And as for Klinefelter, it usually includes infertility and small or poorly functioning testicles, less head, body hair, and breast growth. And there are mosaic variants of these, meaning that in Turner, sometimes some cells have X0, which is typical Turner, and then some XX. Mosaicism in Klinefelter, it's some cells have XY and some XXY. Now, can I have slide 4, please?
Okay.
Now, on your screen, you can see the definition of gender identity as defined by American Psychologist's Journal in 2015. It is a different thing, and it can be in different cultures. Gender can have more of a spectrum than a binary. Can we go to slide 5, please?
Okay.
Now, here on your screen now, you can see different names for a gender as a social construct in different social groups. Koryak and Kamchadal in eastern Siberia have a concept of third gender, as well as in Hawaii, it's called maho, which is also a different form of third gender, as well as hijra and aravani in India. And when it comes to Native Americans, they also recognize more than 2 social genders. For example, Aliha and Kwame in Mojave Desert, US, and Navajo Indians or Native Americans referred to as a third gender, who are male-born persons who embodies masculine and feminine spirits. And Dilba is the other way around. And Lakota Native Americans have Wingte, which is very similar to Navajo. And in Thailand, Kathoi is considered the third gender, which is more flexible, and they are usually assigned male at birth, but have female parts, or referred to as sago, the second type of woman. And when it comes to the genetic basis of biological sexes, there are thousands of genes at play. Two people, for example, can have different phenotype, i.e., gender identity, but the genetic makeup of their biological sex is different. Thank you. Back to you, Catz.
Oh, I was looking forward to saying time. You had you have 40 seconds left. Right. Go on, over to you, Creaky. What do you think?
Right. So a couple of people are mentioning some points more to do with the stream than anything else, about the slides not being very readable and things like that, and the volume being a little bit off. If there is anything you'd like to point out, can you tag at Agree to Disagree Debate so I only spotted those by accident, but obviously you'll have to bear with us. This is our first...
It's a chat right now.
Yeah, this is our first debate with 2 participants and 2 moderators, so obviously there's going to be teething problems, so please be patient with us. We will get it dialed in, as quickly as we possibly can. If there's any buffering, the stream strength is excellent, so it could possibly be at your end. So,
possible.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, that was really informative, Harvey. That first 7 minutes 21.85 seconds, which is what you took. Elastic, at the end of, just a reminder to everyone in the audience, at the end of Elastic's opening statement, there'll be a chance for you to go and vote on who you think's won round 1, so to speak. But Elastic, I'll do the same with you. I'll give you a chance to introduce yourself, and once you've introduced yourself, if you say go, I'll just hit start on your 8 minutes. Off you go.
Sure. I usually go by the handle Elastic. I'm a 43-year-old male from Copenhagen, Denmark, and I'm just a guy. I don't have a science background or anything to enable me to participate in any other way in this discussion as anyone else could. Yeah.
Okay. Right. And well, are you ready to go?
Yeah. Sure.
Let's fire away. Off you go.
I just want to say, in preparation for this debate, I watched quite a few online debates on this topic, and I can see that some of them has had the wrath of the mob felt. So I just want to make a little disclaimer that I'm not denying anybody's humanity or denying them as a person, and I'm not denying that the feelings they have are heartfelt and real or anything. And I'm really not trying to be offensive. I'm really hoping for a civil discussion, and that's it. My position is there are 2 sexes, male and female, and I completely agree with Heidi that there are deviations to this or anomalies to this, and I don't think that the rates or the percentages that she mentions are controversial in any country. It's well known, but I'm not sure if it's a language thing. But in Danish, we have like one word for sex and gender. So my position is that I agree there are different gender roles, there are different gender expressions, there are different gender identities, and there are also sexual preferences, and all these can exist on a very, very huge spectrum. But the spectrum is always in the context of male and female, and then you can be somewhere in between or an outlier of these. But there are 2 sexes, and hence my position is there are 2 genders, and I'm not convinced there are anything else than this. So I don't think we disagree too much, other than on wording, perhaps. Yeah, that's just about it. That's my position.
That's your opener?
Hmm?
Okay, 2 minutes, 14 seconds, 40. I don't know why I'm reading out the times. Right. Creaky, what comes now?
One housekeeping issue again. Sorry to keep getting distracted, but I'm trying to keep control of everything that's going on. Stephen Brown, one of the Patreons, is in the side chat. For some reason, I can't mod him, so if you could do that. And we'll just get straight... Well, people... is the community post there now, Catz, for people to go and vote on?
Can I make just a single more comment?
Of course,
yeah. You've got another 7 minutes, 6 minutes if you want to use them.
Oh, yeah. Well, what I'm actually wondering is, why are we even discussing this? To what end? What is it that... I mean, why are we discussing sex and gender? There must be some sort of end goal for this. Is it because we want to change the laws of the country, like they do in, for example, in Canada and the US, or to what end are we discussing this? Is my perspective is from more of a societal perspective. Why do we as a society care if somebody wants to feel or express or say anything about the sex or gender of a person? Why is that relevant? If we have a society that does not discriminate. Yeah.
Yep. Sorry, I'm just waiting for you to say because I'm just counting your minutes up. That's all. So, right, is that your opener done?
Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, we'll give you a chance to respond to each other in a second, but I have just posted the community poll. So we've heard 2 opening statements, and if you go to our community tab, you should be able to vote for hide your elastic on the first round. Let's see if we've got any votes in. Looks like we've had 1 vote in so far. So
and remember, guys, you're voting on who you think gave the best opening statement. You're not voting for whose viewpoint you agree or disagree with.
Yeah. So we've had a few new people come to the stream. Is it worth just reiterating the structure until people get this in their head?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you want to take that? Do you want me to?
Can you do a cast? I'm playing with buttons, and because people are saying that the video quality isn't brilliant, and
okay. Yeah, Creaky. First of all, I'll take my hat off to Creaky. He's well, actually, I'm going to keep my hat on, but metaphorically, he's working really, really hard behind the scenes. He's done a fantastic job. So, if you have just appeared, the rules of these debates are 8-minute openers, 8-minute rebuttals, then a back and forth, and then we take questions from the chat. Now, if you've got questions, please don't tag me into them yet or tag us into them yet. Please save it for that round because I'm not saving them up. We'll just take them all then. Right. So, Heidi, you've heard what Elastic has got to say. You have a further 8 minutes to use to either expand on your opening statement or refute anything you think Elastic has said that needs refuting. Are you ready?
Yes.
Time starts now.
Creaky, could you pull up my slides? Slide number 2.
Yeah, of course. Okay, fire away.
Yes. So there being more than 2 biological sexes, my standpoint is that there are more in the sense that there isn't one single thing. There isn't male XY, female XX. As we can see on this slide, there are one X missing. It can be double, or there can be mosaic in karyotype. There isn't, my standpoint based on only the chromosomes alone, but also the genetics. There are no clear clear-cut boundaries between biological sexes. There are so many factors, karyotype, genes are at play. As I said, that two persons can have the same gender identity. Well, for example, cis male, but they're two cis men's genetic layout when it comes to the biological sex, they aren't the same when it comes to genetics or karyotype. It's not clear cut. It's a very wide spectrum. And I don't think you can cut it in slices saying male, intersex, female. There are no binaries. Well, there are binaries in some people's minds, but it's a spectrum. Thank you.
Okay, is that you happy? That's everything you need to say for that?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Creaky, anything popping up from the chat you want to mention, or?
No, people seem to have stopped complaining for the moment. I will, the next time we present slides, I will alter the screen layout. Obviously, you can't practice doing a live debate. So, unfortunately, I hope it's, it's viewable. With Heidi's permission, I do have the slides. And if anybody is particularly interested, I can share the slides in my Discord server. With Heidi's permission, obviously, for you to take a read through after.
Yeah, of course. Off you go. Then people can also check out the sources that I've cited.
Yeah, absolutely.
As per in slide 1. And after this debate, I'll be sending Catz a few more citations, an additional 4 or 5. That is
Excellent.
Perfect.
Excellent. Can I just say as well, first show ever, 170 watching, Creaky. I'm over the moon with that.
How many?
170.
Is there really?
Yeah, I'm over the moon.
And I thought I felt under pressure when I thought there was only about 50.
No, it's great. Right, we've got about 40 odd votes for round 1. But we'll maybe give the results out for those later on. If you're new, if you go and just come to the stream, remember we've got the gun control debate, which will be happening, I'm assuming, in about half an hour from now. But for now, Elastic, you've heard what Heidi's got to say. You have up to 8 minutes to either further add anything to your opening statement or rebut. Are you ready, sir?
Yes, I am.
Time starts now.
All right. I'm not refuting what Heidi says. There are a fraction that falls between what we consider the normal male and female. I'm not refuting that. And I think we can disagree that if we pile all of these, if I may say, anomalies together, then it's perhaps like 5%. But that doesn't mean that what we're talking about are the two sexes, male and female. And for all of history, that's what we had. We had male and female. It's only in modern times we're discussing it, and perhaps this is what the debate can, more or less turn into, is what are we going to do with this? Because I fully accept that there are differences, but we do have two sexes, and the people that are born with anomalies in their genes are usually living as either man or as woman. It's not like they live like a third sex, like some unicorn sex. They're man and female, man and woman. So, I think the bigger question is, with this knowledge, what are we going to do? Why are we discussing it? Why? I mean, I have an idea why we're discussing it, because, for example, in Canada, they have made legislation demanding that you have to use certain pronouns, and then you can be jailed if you don't use them. Likewise, I've heard, perhaps somebody can confirm this, that in Sweden you cannot be charged with rape if you're a woman. And hence we see males saying, not surgically reassigning, just saying, I'm a woman, and that's enough. I am a woman, hence I can go to a woman's prison. And likewise, in a lot of the debates I've been watching, I can see that women are uncomfortable with a person saying, I feel like a woman, I should be able to go into the women's bathroom in the swimming pool. No surgery, no hormone treatments, no nothing. It's enough just to say that you feel like a woman. And perhaps this is where we are going to have a disagreement, because I fully agree there are two sexes, there are anomalies to this, but that does not mean that you are a third gender. That just means that you are have an anomaly. Likewise, we will not in science or biology in school teach that you have a one arm or three legs or 11 fingers on one hand, because what we teach and what that is the normal, teach what is what people identify with, like the huge population. So perhaps Heidi has a comment on that. What is the end goal of this discussion?
Is that where you're just stopping the rebuttal, just so I can stop the clock? Brilliant. Okay, so that is round two. What I'm going to do now, as we are look at this multitasking. What do you think about that, Creaky? Actually, multitasking.
I'm virtually close to tears because I've just noticed that you haven't given me a blue spanner.
Are you even in the chat?
Yeah, because you signed in to be able to talk to the audience as agree to disagree. It kicked me out. I didn't know that would happen, but
maybe you should let the chat vote. Do you deserve a spanner? Should we give one to?
Everyone's going to say no, are they? They're going to say no. Creaky sucks.
Right, I've just posted round two, and I've done it in all lowercase letters, so very poor grammar. We've had, and can I just thank everybody? We've had over 40 votes on. But let me just refresh. How many have we had votes for round one now?
That's what I'm doing as well.
Yeah, 46 votes for round one.
Yeah.
So thank you. Creaky, is there anything you want to say before we bash on to round three?
I do want people to jump over and vote on round two, because I'm going to start keeping an eye on this as we go. I'm sort of planning things in my head, how we're going to move forward with what we're doing on the channel. And I think the votes need to be voted for as soon as we ask for it, so that we can sort of monitor it as we go along. So we're at 7:30, Kat. So
I think we're doing good for time.
We're awesome.
We're doing good. Should we reveal the results of round one now? Then now round two's in. Should we do that?
Yeah. Do you want me to do that?
Mate, take it. Do you want a drum roll?
Oh God, I don't know. No. I'll give it a miss. I'm feeling quite shy tonight. Right, round one was a bit of a landslide, to be honest. 78% of people voted in favour of Heidi, with 22% of people voting in favour of Elastic. But like I said at the beginning of the stream, that's nothing to do with a winner or a loser. It's just the opinion of the people that heard what you had to say, just for us to make this a little bit different from the usual dumpster fires that end up on YouTube. Yeah. So congratulations, Heidi.
Yeah. So the trophy will be on its way. Yeah. The round one trophy. Right. Now this is the bit where we and I'm sure we won't have to now, but this is a bit where we may have to be wielding that old mute hammer, because it's the back and forth, round three, where we'll start with, in fact, I know you've had a couple of questions, Elastic, so it's the back and forth. We'll start with a question from yourself, and then we'll just listen to you go. Can I just ask that both people let their opponent finish answering a question and then ask a question in return, and we'll play it a bit like tennis. But can we please just, no interrupting. If we think somebody's going on too long, maybe we'll speed things up. But if it's, if Elastic, you ask a question, and then Heidi, you answer it, and then ask one back of your own, and we'll just go forward like that. We both happy with that?
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah.
Right, Elastic, you've had a couple, so I'll let you decide. Where you want to start? Off you go.
Well, as someone in the chat mentions that you presented a lot of scientific data, and my question was, well, why? And I'm seriously, I really am asking this question because I'm not sure what it is that we want to do with this, and I have a omniscient feeling that we want to reshape society into something that is very much different than it is now and has been for thousands of years. And I'm not sure that that would be the right way to go. From what I've heard in all these different debates and what I can see is happening in countries all over the world, especially in North America. So that is why I'm asking this question. What is it we seek to achieve by this? Because I'm very much on the boat that says we do not discriminate against people. I mean, no matter what they feel like or how they express themselves, they should not be discriminated against. But there are some boundaries that we do have today. For example, women's bathrooms or changing rooms, and I think that they are there for a good reason. And I'm not sure that this is where we're going to disagree.
My position on this one is that what is that I want with this, and many others as well, is to show people that there are more than the binary, because as you said, it's not by any means anyone's benefit that anyone gets discriminated against due to being trans or intersex or something in the spectrum. But the discrimination and bullying comes from ignorance, because when people tend to fear what they don't understand, when people don't understand something, and when they don't know enough about a certain topic. For example, the spectrum of genders and the spectrum of biological sex. When people don't understand it, they bully this person who doesn't fit on the spectrum to reduce human suffering.
Brilliant. Have you got a question you want to fire back?
Where does your strong ideas of there being only two binary sexes, where does it stem, and why is it so important that we cling on to it?
Well, that's actually a good question. I can't say where it comes from, but I think that the role as man and woman and their sexes have very important societal roles. For reproductive reasons, you must have a man and a woman, and from what I've seen, the science says that people that live in a family with a father and a mother are more successful in life on a variety of parameters. So, I mean, that's one thing. But if you're fine with saying that, oh, of course, the law acknowledges man and woman, and we are not going to redefine everything in society based on other genders, then we're good. But I mean, if for example, we're talking about now that we want more women into high-profile positions in the workplace, for example. So if I'm a mediocre man and there's a lack of women in a top position, then I can just say, well, I feel like a woman, and now I can come into consideration for that top job instead. Likewise, if there's, I mean, there are many places in society where you differentiate between men and women, and based on how I feel, I can just claim that I belong to a different sex, and then I can be part of that group. For example, in sports, if I'm a sports person, then I can say, well, I want to compete in women's sports, and just say I'm a woman. If I want to go to a different jail, I can just say I'm a woman now. So now I can go to a different jail. So it has rather large societal implications to differentiate, to not only differentiate between men and women, but to have all sorts of other genders and sexes and all that. And I'm curious to know your thoughts about this, because then you could say, okay, we recognize a third gender. So now we need to, like, sports have 3 genders, for jails have 3 genders, for public swimming pools have 3 locker rooms, for the job positions we recognize and define 3 genders. But what about those that do not recognize only 3 genders? Where does it stop? Do we have 5 genders? Do we have 1 million genders? So that's my question.
Yeah, take it away, Heidi.
Yeah, it's having been born in as or having been assigned male or female at birth, and then when growing up, it's not just as simple as all of a sudden saying, yeah, I'm of the opposite sex. Meaning, in this case, the opposite sex meaning the opposite legal sex, as in male or female. It's not as simple as that. As to, without going into, or well, rather going through some sort of reassignment treatments with that before getting the legal sex change. And typically it's when you've gone through the reassignment process to the extent that you're being able to legally change your legal sex to the opposite one. In those cases, it's not until then that you can, well, it's after that that you can really start going to, say, swimming pools, and then through the female locker rooms, and only if you're legally female, you can go to female prison. It's not that simple. There are, in Western countries, there are systems in place that regulate these. You can't go to a female prison just by saying you're female. You have to be legally female to be sent to a female prison, etc., etc.
Can I reply?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I don't think that's true, though, or it's incorrect, because from what I've read on different news channels, people in Sweden are literally saying, I am a woman. I feel like a woman, and going to another prison. I think there was a case from Britain where a man said, I am a woman. I want to be reassigned to a woman's prison, went there and abused two women. I know from the US that it takes no more than you go to your doctors, say, I feel like the opposite sex. They make a document, and then you are legally of that sex. So this is where I think we have a problem in society, that you can just say, you don't have to go through any form of hormone treatment. It's nothing that takes years and years to go through. You don't need any form of surgery. You don't need to have any form of appearance of that sex that you claim to belong to. You can just say it, and then you are that sex. And when I say sex, I mean synonymous with gender. Somebody commented about that. So, I mean, this is where I think it's, pardon, and I'm not trying to be offensive, but I think it's lunacy that you can just go up to your doctor as a man with beard and penis and everything, and just say, I feel like a woman, write me a note, and now legally I am a woman. Then I could legally do anything a woman could do.
Can I just ask, Elastic, where that information came from, and can you back it up that it really is that simple? Because I find that quite difficult to believe, if I'm being completely honest.
Lauren Southern, notorious YouTuber, she just put on a hat with her hair in it, went up to a doctor's, and he performed the legal paperwork so that she was a man. It took her like half an hour. You can look it up in a channel.
Yeah.
So that's what it has come to in some countries. I'm not saying it's that simple.
Yeah, and like I say, I wasn't accusing you of just making something up that suits your side of the argument. I was just curious as to, because it sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? That it could even possibly be that simple. But
I believe in Denmark, you can go onto your electronic self-service portal as a citizen and start the process by asking to be have your legal sex changed. And I think that all it takes is that you pay a small fee and confirm your decision. I think it's like 3 or 6 months later or something. And then you can legally change your social security number to reflect your opposite sex.
Heidi, have you got anything you want to add to that, or another question?
Yes, about this just walking into a doctor's office and saying, yeah, I want to switch my gender or whatever. There are specific criteria in DSM-5 used in the US and ICD-10, which is used in Europe. And my understanding is that elsewhere as well, like Australia, etc., there are specific criteria which have to be met before this doctor can make this diagnosis, which is in ICD-10, it's F64.1, I think, F64 point something, and there are international guidelines in place in accordance with ICD-10 as well as DSM-5, which define the process through which a person can change their legal sex as well as get these treatments. And the international guidelines and those used in Europe in accordance with ICD-10 and the ICD-11 that is coming up, it has to take, the diagnosis period has to last at least 6 months before you can get the diagnosis, hence start the process of changing your legal gender or sex. And in Finland, it can take up to 2 years.
But do you need any sort of hormonal treatment or reassignment surgery?
The law requires that you have to be infertile before you can get the legal change.
Okay, that's fair enough.
And you have to provide a certificate of infertility from that hospital's hormone clinic, from the head doctor of the university hospital, before you can get the legal change.
Mm-hmm. But
sorry, go on, Lustig.
Yeah,
so another couple, about 2 minutes on this round, and then I'll
it's still. I have difficult seeing the end goal. Still, I'm fully with Heidi that of course we should recognize that people are different and have different expression, and I have a hard time hoping or seeing that somebody would discriminate against. I know that some people do, and we should definitely, call that out, and it should have social consequences to discriminate on any level. But I'm just failing to see what it is, the end goal of this. Why we want all these genders? What is it society? What is it that you require from society that we do not already have?
Can I add something to that? It's obviously just my opinion.
Yeah.
But to me, it seems that people who feel that they don't belong to society in a particular way, it would give them the opportunity to fit in the way that they are most comfortable with fitting in.
Yes.
Yeah. And can I? Sorry, I know this is your conversation, but again, Lastic, it was Lauren Southern, yeah.
Yeah.
From Canada. So she's a far-right political activist and YouTuber. She's been described as alt-right and a white nationalist, and that was done specifically for a YouTube video. So I would argue that that isn't really a valid citation myself, but it's
I know how she's described, but nevertheless, it was possible for her to go to a doctor, say, I want to be a man, and whoop-de-doo, she was legally a man.
Yeah, because it says that it was part of a stunt video produced by Rebel Media to show the ease of Ontario's new gender identity law. So if again, I'm please don't think that I'm poo-pooing your argument. That's far from
fine.
it. I'm just trying to make it as fair as I possibly can, because for me sitting here now, that just sounds like a YouTube stunt to me, and Canada need to sort out their laws if that is truly the case.
I fully acknowledge that it was made as a stunt, but she wanted to prove.
Yeah, and I'm not
prove a point.
That. Yeah, of course, yeah. Right. Sorry, ID and Elastic, but back to you.
I was just going to say, we've got 10 minutes for the gun debate has started, and I think one of the things we're going to learn as we go along, and I'll be honest, originally this was meant to be one debate, and I got a little bit edgy that we might not be able to fill an hour, so I booked in 2 debates, and obviously we could have gone on and on and on and on. So I'm going to apologise for cutting you both short on round 3, and we would love to have both of you back at any point. You've got my contact details, you can. But we won't fit in the questions from the chat, and the chat have been pinging quite a few. Because in 10 minutes the gun debate is due to start. Right. But I'm going to put up the poll for round 3. Creaky, do you want to tell everyone who won round 2?
I do. Round 2 was a lot closer, and round 2 with 52% of the vote was Elastic, and Heidi followed with 48% of the vote.
All right.
So very
we're at one each.
So I've just put the post up for round 3, so you can vote on who's won that. And this is where our inexperience is showing a little bit, because I need to ask Creaky what needs to happen for you to bring the other 2 in before the crossover.
Only I knew. It's actually on the screen. Starts in 10 minutes. Afraid to click it, to be honest, in case that kills this one. But that's why I added the handy dandy standby card, so that when Heidi and Elastic are finished, we can bid them farewell, close that particular call down, and then start the next one as quickly as possible and get back on screen.
Right, so we'll try and make this quick fire then. If I ask the same question to both of you, but we'll try and make it quick fire, and then keep pinging them in the chat. And then when we get to about 3 minutes to 8, we just have a standby card while we do the changeover, and then it's straight into the gun debate. So question 1 from Harpoon Lobotomy, which is a great YouTube name, by the way. I love that. He just is asking you both to actually define the roles, because he thinks there's been some interchanging. So can maybe take it in turns to define the difference between gender, sex, and gender roles. Heidi, do you want to go first? Gender, yes. Sex, and gender roles.
Yes. Sex is the biological makeup of one's sex chromosomes, and as well as the genetic makeup concerning sex. Gender is a social construct in our modern societies, and as well as have been traditionally for thousands of years, as male and female, and a third gender, and something in between. Gender roles are culture dependent between men and women. In Western cultures, typically women take care of home, kids, etc., and men provide for their family.
Elastic, would you disagree with any of those, or would you agree?
I disagree. There's a difference between gender and sex. I think they're synonymous. I think there are two genders, and yes, you can have gender roles, gender preferences, sexual preferences, gender expressions, and so forth, that can have a spectrum in between that, between woman and man, or both, or whatever. But it's always on the spectrum of man and woman. There's not like a third option. It's a spectrum between the two of them. So I'm still not convinced there are more than two sexes.
Okay, next question. I just very quickly point out Phoenix in the chat has just made a point about somebody called Jessica Yaniv. He's just backing up the point you made about Canada and how easy it is to change a gender. So apparently someone called Jessica Yaniv is worth a Google. Have you heard of her, Heidi?
No.
Elastic, anyone you know?
How do you spell the last name?
Yanick.
Oh. Okay, okay.
Sounds Eastern European, but I don't know. Never heard.
Jessica is a trans person, and I think was accused of some sort of sexual crime or something. I'm not sure.
Sounds like an interesting one to Google. I'll look at that.
I know what it is. It's a male to female transsexual, and the person or she went into a beauty salon and demanded they gave her Brazilian wax, and she still had her male genitals, and the parlor refused her service, and she filed a lawsuit. I think it's along those lines.
I think I remember that story. I think I do. Right, we're getting dangerously close to the end. So one last question. This is from Stephen Brown. I hope I've written this down right, because I'm not quite sure what it means, but it might hopefully make more sense to you. We'll start with you, Elastic. What are your thoughts on majority biological differences between male and females, and how would you suggest you get around it regarding sport?
I'm not quite sure where the direction of the question takes us. But if you mean that, for example, a man can have a more female demeanor and be, for example, have less muscular mass than the average. I'm not sure what the person is asking for.
I'm just wondering whether that's the case of maybe.
I think what this person is asking is the differences between the sex chromosomes when it comes to Klinefelter and intersex people, if I understand that correctly. But there have usually, if there are intersex or other biological sex minorities, they usually compete in the appropriate series that are closest to the actual makeup of what their body looks like and what their hormone levels are. There was I think it was a South African runner who competed in women's series and she had too much testosterone in her system, etc.
Oh, he's just clarified his question. He says that he means the biological differences in strength and speed that give. So I suppose he's talking about, if I can paraphrase your question, sort of like male to female athletes competing in like wrestling and powerlifting.
A few years ago, I checked up on this. At the moment, 3 or 4 years ago when I checked this up, the standpoint of the International Olympic Committee was that it was 2 or 3 that a trans person can start competing in this new genders series 2 or 3 years after the gender reassignment surgery. This was Olympic Committee's standpoints 3 or 4 years ago. Could have changed.
Plastic? Any?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen this, and and again, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but I think it's going to destroy women's sports because even mediocre sportsmen can transition to women and then beat all the women. And that's what we're seeing. Mediocre wrestlers changing sex, beating all the women. Same in martial arts, athletics, running. And I think that biological men should compete in men's sports and biological women should compete in women's sports. And then if you want to do a third category, well, that's fine by me. I don't have any issue with that at all. But we should not mix the 3.
That in itself, I think, could be an entire debate, which if you two want to have, get in touch with me behind the back, because I'd love to hear more on that. I think that's a fascinating point. But we are 2 minutes away from the gun debate.
I'd be interested in. I would be interested in doing that sports debates at some point, but not next week. But
well, we'll get in touch and we'll get it set up. Right, I'm just trying to be faster because we did promise the other 2 we get on for 8. And I apologise for rushing the end of this, and it's all my fault for not thinking we'll be able to fill an hour, and we have. So I do apologise for that. Creaky, do you want to announce the winner of round 3?
Yeah. I'll first of all say round 2 has changed. Right, round 1 has changed as well. Round 1, Heidi is on 74%, Elastic is on 26%. So it's even more of a landslide. Round 2 is now a dead heat at 50% each. And round 3, at 57%, goes to Heidi again, with Elastic being on 43%.
Close, though. Close.
Yeah.
Close rounds. Not the opener, but the other 2 definitely been close.
Yeah.
We'll have to announce
should have brought slides.
Next time.
We'll see you next time. All right.
Guys, can I just extend a massive thanks for opening our channel and being so simple with it.
My pleasure.
Of course, welcome. And Heidi, happy to debate with you. It was interesting.
Likewise, thank you, and perhaps we'll have the debate about sports, but maybe not soon. Sometime later.
We'll see.
Welcome. You're both welcome back on any time.
Thank Catz, you. I'll send you the email with the sources. All right.
Brilliant. Thank you both, and stick around and see who's won round 4 after that. Creaky's got to do his technical stuff now and he's going to transform me into 2 people who want to argue about guns.
Basically, what that means is I've got to try and get 2 new people on camera now without breaking the entire stream. So thank you to Elastic, thank you to Heidi. It's been a pleasure to meet you both. And yeah, take care, guys, and we will be back shortly after this short intermission, I hope. And we're back. Oh, let me just get rid of Elastic's picture. Slight technical hitch because it's hiding. Colin, good evening, sir. Good evening,
Hi.
Daybreak. How are you both?
Oh, I'm fine, thank you.
Good show. Good show. Right, I'm just going to fiddle around a little bit more as well.
Yeah,
Oh my God,
so-
this is so stressful.
Just take it easy, Creaky. That is no need to.
No, I need to do something. Need to do something. This is the closest I've got to doing some real work in 2 years.
Well, while Creaky's doing that, I know some people have dropped out during the interval and then come back, and I do apologise for there having to be an interval. Like I said, that was all my fault. But we are going to be discussing gun control for the next hour. For anybody, because I've seen a few people ask in the chat, how do we get onto debate? How do we suggest a debate topic? Just leave a message on any community post. I'll find it. Email us if you've got the email address. If not, I'll give you the email address once you've given us a message on a post. And you can come on and you can debate anything you want to debate. We will find you an opponent. I've got a nice little spreadsheet, right? Pretending to be organised. You can come on and you can debate anything you want. And if you've got someone you know who wants to debate you, even better. But if not, we will find somebody. But as for now, we have 50 minutes. Actually, before we start, Creaky, is there anything you want to say about the structure of the debate or anything?
No, I'm too scared. Yeah, it's basically we're still sticking to the same timings, Catz. Yeah, so it's 8 minutes for your opening statement.
Yeah.
Please let person one, whoever goes first, say their piece. You'll get ample opportunity to come back with your side of the argument, discussion. Sorry, because there's no arguments on agree to disagree. So have we decided who's going first, or
we haven't? Do we have a volunteer?
I'll volunteer.
Oh, okay. So
gladly do it. So I will mute myself.
It'll help my nerves if I just get started.
Thanks. Yeah, if you could mute yourself, Daybreak, that'd be brilliant. Colin, I'm just going to hit start. You get 8 minutes. At the end of that 8 minutes, I am going to cut you off. So please don't take that personally. It's the same for everybody. I'm going to hit start now, and off you go, sir.
Okay, thank you so much. I'd like to thank, first of all, Creaky and Catz here, and my opponent. So I'm not a gun expert, nor am I a gun owner. I'm not your normal pro-gun advocate either. I'm a progressive who believes in the Second Amendment. The reason I'm here is to have a productive and nuanced conversation about guns. I believe that there's a way to keep our rights intact while making stronger gun control policies. Here are a few ways our government, my government, has tried to make gun ownership safer. The National Firearms Act of 1938 defines a group of people, including convicted felons, demanded that gun sellers, convicted felons could not purchase guns and demanded that gun sellers keep personal records of their customers. The Gun Control Act of 1968 raised the age to purchase guns to 21 and expanded licensing requirements. And the Hughes Amendment of 1986 had banned the purchase of military-grade assault rifles. In contrast with the United States, Switzerland has more regulations on gun ownership and fewer mass shootings. Most people in Switzerland do own guns too, yet there's less gun violence than in the US. I attribute this to much more vigorous gun safety training policy and a mandatory military service for men aged 18 to 34. To make gun ownership safer, we need mandatory background checks, just like the Swiss have, I believe. Many people need guns as a tool, though. Farmers need them to protect their crops from wildlife. Ranchers need them to protect their livestock from predators. We need people to hunt to control the animal populations, such as deer and wild boar. And if people couldn't hunt those, these populations would explode out of control and that'd be a big problem. Even the colonists back in the 1700s, I don't think we'd be here if they did not have the guns to protect their freedoms and their rights. I believe background checks, safety training, police outreach programs are vital to lessen gun violence, especially in America. I believe we could learn a lot from the Swiss, and yeah, I believe it's important to maintain the right to have a gun. Yet we should do more. Thank you so much. I'll turn it back to you, the moderator.
Right. So, thank you very much for that. That's 3 minutes, 27.32 seconds, just in case you wanted to know exactly. Thank you very much. Colin, can I just ask you to just put yourself on mute while we get Daybreak?
Sure thing.
Creaky, is there anything that's popping up in the chat you want to alert us to? Anything you want to say? And thank you, sorry, Colin, by the way, that was very interesting. Go on.
Can you mod Chris Shapley? He's one of the Patreons. I don't know if you've seen my barrage of messages, and I'm starting to relax a little bit now. I'm starting to feel a bit more like myself. I've cooled down a little. I'm not sweating as much. It's going a lot smoother now. So yeah, like I say, obviously it's our first live show. It's going amazingly well, in my humble opinion. Everybody in the side chat, give us a thumbs up if you're enjoying it. If not, don't give us a thumbs down. I'm not sure I could take it at this point. But if we pass it over to Daybreak, Catz.
Okay, your 8 minutes starts now, sir.
Okay, so I do own a couple of guns. Since you mentioned it, I'm holding it up right now. I am a Swiss citizen, and I think compared to the US, our gun laws are really, really strict compared to the US. I mean, yes, there are even more strict gun laws, and I'm mostly concerned with the US, because that's maybe the prime example, and I'm already sorry for saying this, but to carry a gun openly in Switzerland, you will not be able to. You will not be able to carry a gun openly. The only way you get to it is when you are working for some sort of security firm, or are police, or are actually in military service. And you need a gun. But that is partially the only exception. And 2001, I think, was the new gun law. Before that, even you could have walked around with a loaded gun, but now you are no longer allowed. And since then, actually, a lot of things have gotten better, because we had a lot of suicide, because the military made it mandatory for people to have ammunition at home. And alongside storing their gun is then highly dangerous. And yeah, that is what I have also heard, that somebody actually shot himself, and was like, yeah, that's not the best thing to do. And I personally, I was also trained on an assault rifle, military grade, of course. And I'm really scared of guns. Frankly, when I'm handling it, and I was an instructor, this was a horrifying experience to teach people to shoot other people. And this may be a bit odd, but I'm a pacifist. I would never shoot at people. Frankly, the best reason I've heard from somebody said who was in military, I went to the military because I want to learn to shoot and how to miss. Because frankly, I wouldn't want to hurt another human being. And for gun safety, anybody want to requiring a gun in Switzerland has to go to the police and get it's called a Waffenschein. So that's the first requirement you need to get. You can only get the weapon if you have one of those. And then you actually can go buy 2 guns from this. And if you want more, you need to actually go more. So that is my experience with it. And I don't think it's a good thing that especially the US has this lax laws on gun safety, gun regulation, and gun selling, which needs to be regulated more. And of course, there will always be a black market, always. And even here, you can't turn that off. But it has immensely improved our society. And as you mentioned, not much happened since then. Yeah, I think that's my few points.
Okay, 3 minutes 48.25. Well done.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks to both of you. Creaky, do you want to mention the poll or anything from the chat?
Yeah, I've posted. Sorry, everyone. I'm busy trying not to break something at the moment. I've posted the poll on the community tab for round 1. So if you want to head over there now and cast your votes for either Colin or Daybreaker, do that now, please.
Who won round 4 with Heidi and Elastic?
Did you put round 4 up?
Round 4 has been up, yeah.
Oh. How can I see it then?
Oh.
Even YouTube hates me now.
Get it on my round 4. Heidi 71%, Elastic 29.
Heidi smashed it by the looks of it.
She's done well. Just again, I've seen another couple of people in the chat. How do we get onto debate? Just drop us a reply on any of the community posts from tonight, and I will get in touch. Unless you've already got our email, agree-to-disagree-debates@gmail.com, and then email us, and we will sort it out. So that poll has gone up. Colin, you heard what Daybreaker has had to say. You have your time. You've got 8 minutes. Either add to your opening statement or tell us what you think about his opening statement. 8 minutes, all yours. Off you go, buddy.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, that's all I had prepared. Now it's just the fun part. And might I say, what a strange debate this is going to be. A non-gun owner, pro-guns, and a gun owner who's anti-gun. How amazing. And the whole Swiss thing. That's so cool. I was afraid you guys were going to get a ringer up to go against me. But, yeah, you know, I didn't do a lot of research into the Swiss thing. I just already kind of knew about the statistics. You know, I'm a pacifist as well. I've never even shot a gun. I don't think I ever will. It's not me. I kind of live in a bubble here in California, so you know. But I do see the need for it as a tool for such things: farmers, ranchers, police forces, and all that. Really, I'm thinking just the whole thing about mass shootings in America is a big issue in my mind, and my opponent here had mentioned mental health and suicide rates going up, which is heartbreaking. I'm so sad to hear that. But I do believe there's a point to be made there that stronger and better information about mental health and gun safety and all this. I think there is some sort of way that we might be able to fix the problem. I got my dog here. Sorry if you can hear her. But I probably should have taken a little bit more notes. I'm going to be getting down to under 3 minutes by the end of this. I guarantee it. But yeah, if there's anything I miss, I sure would like a refresher. I think I'll pass it over at this point. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to say at this point that I don't know if you caught the email, Creaky, but Paul think he's one of your subscribers, has emailed in a whole host of questions about guns. So I wouldn't mind just firing those at both of you at some point, actually. But thank you very much, Colin, for that. Daybreaker, you have another 8 minutes to respond, add on to whatever you've said, and then we'll get into some questioning.
Okay. So, yeah, it's kind of what I was expecting, because I'm a strong advocate in that gun safety must be taken really serious. And if you look at it, we have huge events which is circled around the sport of shooting, as in precision shooting. We have 300-meter ranges, 50-meter ranges, which is all in sports. And if you see there, like, it is one of the biggest shooting competitions in the world, and yet I have to hear of any problems which were there, which means that our system is actually really well working, as in how to regulate guns. I mean, it's like you are not allowed to store ammunition and the gun together in one piece, or even though you must disassemble the whole gun. So that thing that actually fires it, I don't know the English name. In German, it's Verschluss. So you can't actually even fire the gun if you have the gun, but you don't have the other part because it's stored separately. That's also how we did it in military. And it's like if you lost that thing in military, it was like losing the whole gun. So that's how severe it was treated, and that really went into my mind. Also, before I also like to shoot. It's highly relaxing if you look away from the noise. But you really have to be calm and lie there and hit your mark, which is highly relaxing for me anyway. But then again, he mentioned also hunters. Yeah, of course they need to, and of course they need training, and they need proper permissions, etc. Not just like, I'm a hunter, I can own 5 guns. Yeah, same rules apply for everybody, and they should all be under the same scrutiny as a private owner just having a gun which is using just for the sport. And I can get a military grade weapon, downgrade just a single fire, if I would fulfill English certain requirements by the military, but I still need to actually get what did you call it? Permission from the police that I actually can get one of those. So if the police says no, you don't get a gun, I will not get one. I mean, the laws here are actually quite strict, but are still open enough to actually use them as tools or sports devices. And not everybody can actually go and just say, I want to buy this Magnum, don't know what, or military grade automatic assault rifles and walk with them around. It's like, no, not going. I mean, there were even alerts in Switzerland because somebody was actually carrying their military weapon to go to the mandatory shooting, and they were like, oh my god, there's somebody there, and he was just like, yeah, I just want to go to the firing range just to do my things. So that's actually how well it is received here, and I think the system as it is quite good for now. Yeah.
Right, I'll hit stop on that. Creaky, are there is another poll to go up for the end of the rebuttal? Have we both had a rebuttal? We haven't we? Yeah.
Yeah, so are you putting that up, Catz, or do you want me to do that?
No, I can do that as we speak.
There we are. Shall we let everyone know the results of round 1?
Yes, please.
So with 59% is Daybreaker Flint and 41% is Colin. And remember, guys, these are just the opinions of the people listening to you speak. It does not necessarily declare one of you the winner and one of you not the winner.
Now,
I mean,
sorry, go on.
yeah, I mean, it just shows how easy it is to agree, to disagree, to agree something, or yeah, title of the show.
Exactly. Right.
Exactly.
Round 3 is sort of the back and forth. We get to discuss stuff with each other. We, like I mentioned before, we did it, and I'm just springing this on Creaky now, actually, so I apologise, mate. I should have cleared this with you earlier on. But we had a subscriber who knows a lot about guns send me a list of questions that will prompt discussion. So if you don't mind, I wouldn't mind by reading out one of these questions and then seeing what discussion from you two comes from that. And then when that runs its course and you stop thinking of counter questions, I'll just kick it in again with another one of the questions from him. Are we okay with that?
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Okay. So thanks again, Paul, for this. So don't take anything from what I'm saying about my view on guns. These are questions from somebody that knows these will spark a discussion. So I'm going to go with Colin. This is Daybreaker Flint. I think that I'll send this one for you. So the question is, why, when somebody uses a hunting rifle with a wood stock, right, is that considered hunting and fine? But if you were to paint that gun black, people look at it and consider it evil, right? Or people that don't like it consider it more dangerous, when in fact it's just the same gun. Okay, so in other words, it can do the same damage. That was a question. What would your thoughts be on that? And we'll see what kind of conversation comes out of it.
I mean, there are a couple of regulations on what you can do and can't do with a gun here. And I think half of them are actually about the function of the gun, not the paint job. And I know somebody who owns a modified gun, and I mean specifically modified. It is one with a shorter barrel. And they had to go through a lot to actually get it done legally. And they are basically checked every year if that gun is still in that shape and form. So, I mean, just painting it black is like, yeah, I think you're allowed to do that. That's not a problem. I mean,
yeah, I've never actually heard of that. Sorry to interrupt. I've never actually heard of that. I mean,
I think the point he's trying to make with the question is that when you've got a gun and everyone knows and recognises it's a hunting gun, people are okay with it. But another gun which can still equally, put a bullet in someone's head and kill them, that isn't recognised as a hunting gun, is suddenly considered evil. Just like, why might that be? Is it a case of, well, I don't know. I know very little on guns. So I think that's the point he's getting at, though.
Yeah, I think that's about people who don't know anything about guns. I mean, you can get the SIG 550, which is currently the standard military weapon in Switzerland, in varieties of colors to your liking. But the standard military weapon is olive green. And the standard weapons for the contests are mostly not green. Only the ones which are not modified for sports are green still, but the ones modified, they mostly have special handles, other optics, etc. Just that it's better for sport. And if you see another gun, it's like the single, it's bolt action. So you have to reload every time you want to shoot. We also have those still, and they're working fine. But the paint job doesn't change a thing about that. A bullet traveling out of the barrel can kill a lot of things.
Yeah. I totally agree. I don't think
a gun stays gun.
A gun's a gun. I mean, you might as well say you can't varnish the wood grain on the stock of your gun. I mean, really. And also the Olympic shooting and all that. I've seen red, white, and blue, and yellow, green, all these sorts of colors, crazy little add-ons and all that stuff. And speaking of which, I think there used to be, like, in America, high school programs that taught competitive shooting, like Olympic grade competitive shooting. I think that could do a lot to lessen the romanticism that there is in my country of guns, and maybe not have your detective show get in a gun battle every single week.
Yeah, that's basically also here when you start shooting. It's basically the first thing you do is basically discuss safety. How do you enter the building? How do you carry your gun? How do you do stuff? I mean, in military, it was even worse because, yeah, you always treat a gun as loaded, no matter what. There's one exception to this rule, and that is when it is actually when it's piece-bound. So it's checked and then sealed off, and nobody can actually load anything into it unless the seal is broken. And yeah, I sometimes I'm just wondering that, yeah, a gun is still a gun. It is dangerous. It scares me, and I would never ever give a gun to a 10-year-old unless he had a 5-hour instruction beforehand, and then I'm standing right behind him and holding the gun with him, so and showing
Yeah,
how it's working. I'm his instructor, and one of my main things which I was about doing as an instructor was when we were handling guns, as in all the movements we learned in military. It was actually I was a softie, but when it came to guns, I was strict as fuck. And believe me, they all knew when we were handling guns, they knew where they were standing. And I want to make that clear that this is a dangerous thing, and that they always should keep that in their mind, because that's how you learn how to handle it. But some people don't see the need of certain trainings, and I'm really an advocate against that, especially having a loaded gun somewhere in the house and like some nope.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things that really kind of ruin the information on safety, proper storing, proper use, and all that. Like just your action movie could be a little less violent. I mean, I enjoy it. I'm not saying don't have your action hero not shoot a gun, but there's got to be some more training. I would love to see. I mean, I agree with the child 5-hour training course, maybe 10 hours of instructor being right behind you,
Yeah.
being in advisor and all that. I totally agree. I would love to see these kinds of things implemented in America. Of course, I'll probably have the whole pro gun lobby descend upon me from the internet after this.
Yeah, most likely they will, and it's just like things which are just for me normal. I walk around and see a gun, and I can basically in a shooting range, can go to any gun and look at it and know it's safe because it has there are certain procedures which need to be followed. No gun can be carried around loaded in the shooting range. Only when you lay down and start shooting, and when you're finished, then somebody actually comes and checks if you have finished all rounds. Which is like, to me, it's actually normal. And the only time I didn't do that, it was in military, and then we were on the safe range, and everybody knew what we were doing because we had training like a long time, and everybody knew what we were doing. But some people don't know what they're doing. Just like, I got the gun. Like, yeah. So
So on that point, sorry to interrupt. I'm just curious because obviously you both, I think everybody agrees that you've got to be sensible with what you're doing with guns.
Yeah.
What I know, obviously, like Colin, you're more, you're happy for more people to have a gun than Dave. So, like, what type of people, Daybreaker, would you say these people shouldn't have guns in general? And just wonder what Colin's view is on that. So, what type of because you are arguing from the more heavily controlled side of guns, aren't you? So, who would you not want to see have one?
Well,
I can't even spell gun.
Let's leave him out of the equation because I think he wouldn't even know where to put anything on the gun. But basically, anybody wanting to owning a gun, needs to have training. But somebody who shouldn't have or should not never ever be having a gun is somebody who has already have a record of violence or severe depression. And of course, no gun shop can actually check that because that's a medical record. And basically, the police then can actually go make checkups and see, this guy had depression, and then maybe check with the doctor if he is suitable for having a gun, and then say yes or no. Then it's highly regulated, and your privacy isn't violated by somebody other. And the next thing is, of course, criminals, which shouldn't be allowed to own guns. And then basically anybody who wants to actually just have the fun part, but you never actually can shut it off here because we have a lot of guns in our homes. Just saying that we actually have like 6. Four military grade weapons, free from older eras and last military weapon we had. So, but we know what to do with those guns, and those guns are secured as good as you can. And sometimes people are not looking for that. And,
I'd say I agree with that. Definitely criminals, if you're a felon, people dealing with mental illness. I don't think depression is a very specific one that I haven't really made up my mind about it quite yet right now. If let's just, for a hypothetical, say a man comes into a shop, wants to buy a gun, he has depression. Now, let's just say then the gun shop goes to some authority somewhere and they check in with medical records so privacy is still maintained in that way, and they can then authorize through background checks whatnot, right?
Yeah.
But I do see if you have a drug history,
Yeah.
I don't.
Depending on the laws, it's also considered criminal. So.
Yeah. Depending on the severity and all that. I think if you have any kind of record of domestic violence, I think you should be off that list right away.
Colin, sorry to interrupt. Sorry, mate, to interrupt. Just for the people in the UK and myself, because I don't know, who is it that the US Constitution or the US laws, who is it that isn't allowed a gun in America at the minute? Who's not allowed one?
Right, convicted felons, and I think that's basically it. We're pretty lenient about that, and I wish that would actually kind of change. But I still, depression. I'm so stuck on that one because depression. I mean, I'm clinically depressed, I'd say, but I try to keep that positive view, and work through it. I would never, ever, ever pick up a gun to try and solve my problems that way in any way, shape, or form.
That's I mean, there's a certain kind of depression and how people are actually deep into it. But the problem was actually before they actually removed the ammunition which you took at home, there were actually quite a lot of people in Switzerland which shot themselves with their own weapon.
Yeah.
And that's what it led to it say, yeah, we don't do that anymore, because it was the weapon and the ammunition. And it's like, it is one step to have ammunition in the house and the weapon. And I mean, then you need to be aware of that it exists. Next thing is actually, if you have it, just most of the people actually have their gun laying around, because most of the time they just are, the main components are separate, but it is an easy thing for somebody trained on the weapon to reassemble it, put one bullet into it, and then, yeah. I think with removing, actually taking ammunition at home, this problem has, well, yeah, it has been diffused, let's say it so. It still happens, but it's way less, and I think it's also more of an awareness of mental illnesses, and actually more people who are mentally ill are no longer allowed to go to do military service, which is a good thing, because previously it was like, oh yeah, you are good, you can go, and then they had severe depression, and then things happened. Yeah, so
sorry, there's a lot of people that are just allowed unfettered access to guns. I have a friend over on the other side of the states who says he could go into a Walmart and get a gun right there. No training.
No,
nothing.
That's
no waiting period. No, like a background check takes about 15 minutes, maybe. But that's it.
Yeah. That's not something I want. I'm actually would be highly afraid, and actually I would get my a gun myself to actually just feel a little bit safe from all the crazy people walking around, because I actually can say I know how to handle one. But then I would not be any better than the other ones. Like, rather avoid this region in total.
Yeah, I do feel like the 5-hour training course, just to be able to fire it, just all this stuff should be something before you can actually get your hands on a gun in a store.
Yeah, that you can.
It does sound like we've got a bit of a consensus there, which is they've agreed to agree, Creaky. What do you think about that?
It sounds to me as if you're both pro-gun, but in different ways. Like, you both believe that people should have access if that access is appropriate, but you both seem to have very different viewpoints on how that should be achieved. And I've just looked something up, did a bit of the old Google foo while you guys were talking. In it is Switzerland. You said you were from, Daybreaker, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, just so I'm not stating the wrong country. In 2016, there were 47 murders using guns. And in the United States in 2016, there were 37,200 guns. Now, I know, obviously, that the US is a much bigger country, but how much of the blame for those deaths would you put on the ease of access to weapons?
In my country, I think most of those are actually, it's a high percentage. I don't remember how high it was, but I know it's pretty high. It's because it was a weapon at home, which was from the military. And I mean, you see, there are 100,000 weapons are at home, and many actually can give the weapon to a storing location if they wish to. So I think it's actually because of that, and I don't think most of those, only a smart percentage of those are actually because somebody got the gun, but then again, we have the black market, etc., etc. So.
Yeah, and that I think therein lies the problem, because even with the best gun regulations in the world, I think to say that there will never be a black market in any country in the world is very naive.
Yes, very.
Yeah.
You know, what it doesn't state is how many. You know I said it as if to demonstrate. You know, oh look, America's terrible because there's so many more murders at the hands of armed people, and that's not what I was getting at. Because what it doesn't tell you for either country is what percentage of those deaths were caused by illegally owned guns, which of course is almost impossible to manage anyway, isn't it? You know, where there's a will, there's a way. If somebody's determined enough to get their hands on a gun of any description, then, you know, everybody knows a guy. And if that guy doesn't know, he probably knows another guy who may. So,
yeah, I'd say over here, well, the statistic I read earlier today while I was finalizing my little introduction was there's about 125,000 or so guns per 100,000 people in America. So there are literally more guns in the country than there are people.
right.
That's
quite concerning, though, isn't it?
Oh yes, of course, absolutely. And most of those, I'm sure, a lot of the gun violence has some sort of other criminal element related to it. There's lots of gangs and all that. You know, I live pretty close to L.A. and so, you know, you got your Bloods and your Crips, and they're always fighting, shooting, and all that. And a lot of those guns are, you know, turn up unregistered from the black market. Honestly, it's a horrible thing. And yeah, it's very naive to think the black market's just going to disappear, or that all these guns are going to disappear from America. So, you know, the next best thing to do is try and try and tighten those restrictions on how you can access them, how you can get them. And you know, yeah, that's a very good question. Thank you.
So you, if I'm understanding what you've just said correctly, and I could be wrong, as hard as that may be to believe, so you see the problem as being the method in which somebody can obtain a gun rather than the fact that anyone can obtain a gun. But you don't think you should change the fact that anybody and their grandmother can buy a gun, and then
no, I absolutely do.
And then follow the procedures to be able to carry and use in, you know, as the laws permit from state to state. You think it's the method, you know, it's what they have to do to legally carry or have that gun. You think that's more of the problem than the availability of weapons?
Yeah, I could agree with that.
Cool.
Of course, you know, black market being what it is and America being what it is, that's a long road to walk down.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Daybreaker, any? We're going to have to head on to the questions in the next minute or two because we're nearly done. But have you got anything you want to add?
I just looked it up and it was like if 34% of the people who are committing suicide are using weapons, and they guess that it's approximately half of those 34% are using military weapons. So there is a certain margin where just somebody has maybe an old gun. It's basically, that's why we have 5 guns at home. They're from my grandparents. We just inherited them. We're like, yeah, great guns. And I think I think it's closer to 100% than actually Yeah, that's almost any suicide is actually involving one of those guns.
Okay.
So it is a bit, but what do you want?
Creaky,
Yeah,
what do you think time-wise? Think it's time for round 4, do you think?
Yeah, we're at 6 minutes remaining.
Yeah, so I'll put a post up on the community poll for round 3. And do you want to announce the winner to round 2? Do you want me to do it, Creaky?
Yeah, go on, you take this one.
Oh, round 2 was Daybreaker. Daybreaker Flint, you were 91% for round 2, actually. But that was the rebuttal to each of us. Round 3 will fill in soon. Right, so round 4, we've had some questions from the chat. And again, we're not going to have time for loads, but I'll ask this to each of you. And then just see what the first one's probably going to be a yes or no with a little bit of elaboration. But Andrew Stoll has asked a question that I'm going to expand on a little bit. He asked the question, if a criminal was reformed, right, so the justice system does its job, a criminal is reformed, should he have his gun rights reinstated? I'm going to expand that to, you talked about people with mental health problems as well. If somebody has a mental health problem, but then years down the line are reformed, should they have their gun rights reinstated? So, Daybreak, I'll start with you. What do you think?
I think if they are suitable for society, as in they are reformed, then yes, they can. And I think there's nothing more to add it. Because
and how would you judge? So someone's gone to prison, they've come out of prison, they say they're reformed. How would you judge that?
That's by medical professionals and police to decide.
Yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree. I agree with Daybreaker, absolutely 100%.
And that's for mental health problems too.
Yes. Therapy. Have a therapist sign off. If you can have a psychologist or some trained professional say, "Oh, this person is and has been reformed and rehabilitated," I'd say we could trust that professional, and yeah, I would be absolutely for reinstating those rights for those people. And the same goes with a criminal should probably be assessed in some way by a criminal psychologist or something, see if they reoffend or whatnot,
Brilliant. Yeah. And Jared Strain asks, probably the last question we've got time for, but Jared Strain, I didn't write it down, I'm going to have to go off memory on this one, but so I'm going to paraphrase. I think he said, how much do you blame paranoia for people's aversions to gun control? And how does it link into the conspiracy theories? So what I think he's maybe getting at is, how much do you think that people who are paranoid about the government suddenly becoming tyrannical, don't want gun control, that kind of so how much do you think is related to, paranoia, I suppose?
A fair bit, I'd say. I talked to some of my best friends, and they're more for pro-gun than I am, for sure. They're a little bit, but anyways, yes, absolutely. And we just go out on the street out here today. You will see people lining outside of an ammo shop, 6 feet apart. So doing the social distancing, but still out there getting ammo just in case. Because if the lockdown never ends, tyranny ensues, and that is one of their points. And I believe that is pretty high percentage.
I completely agree on that, because I feel sometimes like panic too. So, like, it's normal. It is a human reaction. But where I pull the line is like, oh, I need a gun. It's like, wait, stop. No. You don't need ammunition. You don't need a weapon. Our government is still working. I have to worry about it when suddenly no responses are coming back. It's like, yeah. But it's like we want to declare martial law on civil basics, like something like that. No, help. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, paranoia is huge.
Yeah.
It's everywhere on both sides.
Yeah, sure.
Well, we've a minute left. What do we do, Creaky? What? How do you want to sum up?
Listen, I've just been sat here listening to you both speak, and generally in a debate, there's two very, very different opinions going on. But you as both seem so similar. You both seem to have. It's almost as if you're both pro-gun and anti-gun. At least that's how it's coming across to me.
You could say that, maybe. Yeah.
You both think there's a place for weapons, but you both seem to think that they're far too easily obtainable.
In some places where yes, I mean, a weapon. It's basically I can just grab something. That's a screwdriver.
Yeah,
that is
exactly.
a potential weapon. If used correctly, I can easily do a lot of damage to someone.
Absolutely.
And maybe you see in the back there, that's a sword. That's more a traditional weapon, if you want to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can basically use anything as a weapon, but fire weapons are dangerous because, just pull it a little too hard and then you hurt somebody you didn't want to.
Yeah, and the truth is, if you were to ban guns, you'd have to ban bows and arrows, knives, forks, teddy bears for all ropes, shoelaces. You can hurt people with spoons. Yes, our little vape devices, in the eye. Anything can be a weapon. It's the intent. And I mean, guns are a tool, and they should be taught as a tool rather than a weapon.
Yeah.
First and foremost, in my opinion.
I mean, it's like using. I think a good example is a drilling machine. That is something. So it is a tool. Yeah. I mean, I can tell a story that it also can be a really good weapon because I build it to my hand a bit too often for my liking. So it's how you use it. And a tool can be also made to secure peace in a country, to secure an embassy, to secure an event, to secure anything, because people are scared of those weapons. And you can use it to say, people, you can't go here. And I think it is a good thing to have, so you have leverage. And we had this in military, how to secure something, and it's just about, everything is about leverage. If somebody is talking to you, you always have a backup man or woman, whatever. So you're never basically alone, and it is a tool to use, and there are laws how to use it. So that must be implemented.
Excellent. Well, thank you both, honestly, for coming on and being so civil, as were Elastic and Heidi in the first debate. Before I forget, because I'm a forgetful so-and-so, I want to thank the moderators in the chat as well, because they've been there all show and they've been busily doing their thing. So thank you very, very much for that. Creaky.
Yes.
Anything to say?
I've got to be honest, it's exceeded my expectations, because as you quite rightly said, neither of the debates have turned into a shouting show. Everybody's been civil to each other, and this is exactly the sort of thing we want to see on this channel going forward. So thank you, Colin.
Yeah.
Thank you, Daybreaker.
Thank you for having me. And you might want to consider changing the show to agree to agree.
Yeah, we may need to. We may need to. I think we've possibly overemphasized the not shouting over people and keeping it civil.
I think most of the people now currently watching or actually joining the debates were subscribers of both of you. So
yeah,
I think that is maybe influenced it a little.
Probably. Probably.
It's been great. We would love to have, just before we pass you back to Creaky, we would love to have more people get in touch and say they want to debate. And I know I've banged on about this 3 or 4 times tonight, but people come and go in live streams. Comment on this video, comment on a community post. If you've got hold of the email, which has been flying around on our Twitters and etc., then agree-to-disagree@gmail.com. If you get in touch, we will find you an opponent and you can come on and do it. But I know, Creaky, wanted to sing a song for us on the way out.
Absolutely.
So I'll pass that over to Creaky.
We don't want to put anyone through that, but one thing I would like to say in closing is I think I absolutely nailed it, and you 3 were average at best.
You were great, Creaky. All
I
the
was
technical
amazing.
stuff. You
And
are
modest as
amazing.
always. And I think that's where we'll call it done. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you in the next debate. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you
Bye-bye.
so much.